It's been a while since I posted a MtG Arena video. That's because I was hoping to build my collection a little bit more. I really want to start doing best of 3 content, but I'm not quite there yet. So I wanted to share what I have been playing. What I have been playing is Mid Bant on the best of 1 ladder. I'm having a lot of fun with it. This list is not what I would consider to be the ultimately optimal list. I am missing a small number of cards, and I'll cover that as I go through the choices, but for the most part, it's really fun. It's a jack of all trades, master of none list. What I mean by that is that it is good at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing. It is a hedge your bets kind of deck. So something like Mono Red is a very linear game plan. You know what you're trying to do. Some decks like Dread Horde, again, do what they do best and then some. This deck just has kind of good matchups across the board, and you have an answer to just about everything. You just have to draw it at the right time. So you're never really out of games outside of just not drawing enough lands or drawing too many lands. But, mana issues aside, you're not really out of games. You just have to find the answer because you have the tools. And I like that. So, early game, you're essentially playing ramp cards traditionally. We got Llanowar Elves, Incubation Druid, and Paradise Druid in the list because we want to ramp into some powerful 4-drops and beyond. Even with the Llanowar Elves, you've got some good quality 3-drops. Things like Teferi is a good tempo play sometimes. Currently rocking 3 Deputy of Detention. I'm not 100% certain 3 is the right number yet, but this card is pretty solid against Mono Red and is very, very good against White Weenie. If you can eat the tokens created by History of Benalia, for example, it's a quality play. It's also really good at eating dragons created by Sarkhan, things like that. So it's not useless, but the downside is sometimes you need to use Deputy on something like a Planeswalker, and then when it gets removed, they get their Planeswalker back, and sometimes they gain loyalty counters out of that exchange. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're playing the Deputy of Detention. Now, other 2-drop is Growth Chamber Guardian, just because it's a very efficient Grizzly Bear, and the ability to find more cards because you don't have a lot of card draw in this particular list is very helpful. Card draw that you do have is Hydroid. This is one of the big cards you want to ramp into. You've got Teferi, which is a good tempo play and can draw. And I'm currently running 1 Vivien, and this is where I'm short on. I want to be running, in my opinion, at least 3, if not 4 Viviens. Giving your creatures flash is huge. And if you can get Vivien in combination with Teferi and yours sticks, then you open up a whole world of possibilities because essentially, if you play things on your turn, they have no opportunity to counterspell it, right? Because of Teferi. If you are playing against other decks and you don't have Teferi here, being able to flash things in is also very important. Vivien is also a great source of card draw because of the -2, but is also very good at letting you kind of play defense by giving something vigilance and reach. Just a very good card for what this deck wants to do, and I need to get a couple more of them, but sadly, War of the Spark has not really been kind to me. Like, I got the playset of Teferis very early, but then that was it. I own 0 Sarkhans, even still. This is keeping in mind, I pre-ordered and I've opened a fair number of packs. I have 0 Sarkhans, I have 1 Vivien, I have 1 Yugen, I have 1 Domri. I'm just missing a bunch of stuff still from War. All right, back on track here. Shalai, fantastic 4-drop in the best of 1 format because it's great against Mono Red. It's even good against a couple of other decks as well, just because it protects your Planeswalkers and it protects your other creatures. They have to deal with this first. It is a thorn in many players' sides. If you get to where you get to 6 mana, you can start pumping this thing outside of reasonable kill range, outside of spot removal. It's just a really good quality card. I'm getting to the point where I'm almost considering putting in a 3rd because it has overperformed in the times that I have played it. I'm a big fan of Shalai. Frilled Mystic is here because it's a great tempo play. Counter spells are important, and then when you combine Frilled Mystic with things like Teferi, you can really kind of dictate the pace of a game. Currently only running 1 Oketra. I've had 2 in here in the past, but I actually cut it down to 1 for best of 1 because I've now upped my Lyra count to 2. The number of games Lyra has won for me has been just kind of absurd. Like, it is a outright game winner against mono red most of the time. If you can get Lyra plus Shalai down, it's pretty much a game winner against most decks that don't run board sweeps. And I've been seeing decks cutting board sweeps because the creature removal has been not as important as, say, planeswalker removal and or just straight counter spells, things of that nature. So Lyra has actually been overperforming for me on best of 1. And then I am running 1 copy of Teferi, largely because I don't have a lot of other card draw. I wanted some other bomb to kind of ramp into, and again, I'm short on Vivians. I might even, if I pick up the Vivians, consider leaving him in as a one-of. Being able to put a non-land permanent third from the top, it's one of the few main deck answers that you have to certain threats, outside of Knight of Autumn, which is your other kind of toolbox card in this. So this does let you deal with artifacts and enchantments pretty well. Also helps you gain life, which can be very important at times. Like I said, this deck kind of does a little bit of everything. It's good, not great in a lot of areas, but that flexibility I've been enjoying playing as of late. So now that I've kind of beat this deck to death, I've talked about it way too much. Let's go ahead and play a couple games like I always do in these videos so that I can show you what it does, show you the deck in action. This is a okay start for our first game. We really want what I call a mana dork, something that allows us to ramp. We don't have one, however, everything else in our hand is pretty fantastic. We have all of our colors covered. We've got a Vivian. We've got a Knight of Autumn if we need a little health. We do at least have a 2-drop against what appears to be mono red here. And we do have Shalai. So Shalai is going to likely end up being our MVP. What we need to survive this is to land this Deputy of Detention, hope that they don't have an answer for it, and then follow it up with Shalai. Although, we may even hold off on playing this till post-Shalai. It's going to kind of depend on the flow here. There's a strong chance that I could see us doing something else. For example, Knight of the Autumn, just to give us a 4/3. Seems decent. Gets us a blocker. They'll have to use removal on it. And if the... yeah, let's do that. And then if we get the opportunity to top deck a land, then we can play Shalai into Deputy as it is protected. We just need to stall long enough to get Lyra down. And then we will likely secure a victory at that point. But all of that is dependent on drawing land, which is, again, one of the reasons why we were disappointed. We did not have some sort of ramp available. Now, a lot of times against mono red, you'll play a Llanowar Elf, you'll play an Incubation Druid, and it just ends up dying anyway. But you do still want to secure those. Another light up the stage is not what we were hoping to see. Alright, we did not find a land, so it would appear we're just going to be stuck taking a gamble with our Deputy. I mean, the other option is we could Teferi and bounce one of them, but we're likely going to need to do that to Frenzy to slow that down. So this does still seem to be the best play in terms of keeping our health total alive. Now again, if they have removal for it, a bit of a bummer. Not much we can do in that regard, but we desperately wanted to have top decked a land there. We're going to say no blocks for now, which is a bit of a bummer because we don't want to give them Spectacle if we can help it. Alright, so there's the land we were looking for. And our option now is we could take 2 damage to get Shalai down. Gives us a potential blocker against this. Or we can take the Teferi route. And I think that's actually better. This gives us a draw in terms of cycling, right?
I'm known for my excellent timing.
Slows down their development just a bit. Gets us a card deeper as we try to find another land, because we also want to be able to play Lyra.
Now what?
Also, apparently gains us 3 health, because they really wanted to get rid of that. Wow, another Steamkin, huh? Steamkin with Frenzy is usually a bad time. We're gonna likely have to develop Shalai into Lyra here, I think. It's a tough call, because on the one hand, we want to play Lyra because that kind of seals the game up for you, but with them having a Frenzy and us not having an answer at the moment... I mean, we do have more answers in the deck, but we don't have one at the moment. They could just have enough resources to burn down Lyra. Now, they could have that exact same amount of resources for burning down Shalai here. We'll just take the free damage. So, I mean, that is still a concern. But I think of the cards, Lyra is more important to try to stick. At this point, we just really want them to brick on a double land. This is so many resources. Well, they had to take some damage themselves there, though. That's kind of funny. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and drop the Lyra. Lyra gives other angels +1/+1 and lifelink, so that means Shalai here doing just fine to get in there for 4 and heal us up a bit. And since we're not going to be blocking with Shalai anyway, because we can't risk that dying, taking the damage is important. But this is exactly kind of what you're looking for against Red. You want to find Shalai and Lyra, put you in a really good position. Now we just need Frenzy to not give them so many resources that they can burn through both. It would appear that they did not find it, and that's a victory, so... Great way to start. Let's go ahead and play one more game, just so that we can see the deck a little bit more. Alright, playing another game. Seeing what we can do here. We only have 2 lands, but we have some mana dorks, and we're on the draw, so we might draw more. We'll give this a go. Looks like our opponent is also starting by ramping. So it's a race. It's an arms race of ramping at this point. We're gonna see if we can do a little bit better this game than I did the last game. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Charmer, we just watched that last game and you did fantastic. Well, in between there, there was a game that I'm not even going to put up, because it turns out if you keep an opening hand that has 3 cards, and then you the rest are land, and then you only draw land for the rest of the game, like literally 9 land and 3 cards, it's just not interesting content. So right now the decision is whether or not I want to play this Paradise Druid and the Fountain tapped, and I think that's the case, because I don't think I really want one of these 3 drops that bad. So we're gonna do this into the Paradise Druid. We've only seen green so far, so it's potentially just mono green. And if that's the case, we want to try to get up to 5. We hope to top deck a land here so that we can resolve Lyra. Because then the only thing that really threatens Lyra is like a Vivian that shoots it down, or if they run one of the removal cards that specifically target flyers, but otherwise Lyra is a powerhouse. Alright, so we're gonna have to pay 2 life. Man, we are punching ourselves in the face with those shock lands, but there's a chance Lyra gets the job done and makes it all worth it. So it's really this turn is the critical turn, because next turn we can drop Shalaya, and then at that point they won't be able to target Lyra. They'll have to remove Shalaya and we'll back it up. So this is a very critical turn, and it looks like we're going to be okay. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and play that, and just swing with the Lyra. Mostly because we want the health gain one way or the other. But we appear to be in a much better position now. I'm kind of curious what the next set is going to bring, the core set, in terms of angels, because I could really see myself playing some angel Bant variant. But anyway, turns out Lyra and Shalai were enough to get it done again. That's game. Looks like my rank didn't change because I had the amazing mana flood in between that I'm just not even gonna put in the video because it's not worth your time. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you just stumbled upon my channel. Or don't. I'm not your dad. Do what you want, but I appreciate it. I hope to catch you in the next video.